I'll just start recording. I forgot that this is just private anyways. Do you have any questions for me before we start?
No.
All right. Well, then we just, go ahead and hop right into it. You know the drill. I'll just be, looking for something to talk about and be silent for a minute or so.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Damage increased. See you later. Así me gusta.
All right. So we're running a dive here. So we're gonna have to fly around quite a bit.
You needed a goddess? You should be at peak performance level. Don't stop now. Translocating. Be right back. I need healing. You needed a doctor?
All right. I'm keeping an eye on something. I might talk about it after the fight's done. All right. So doesn't look like we do any more of it after the fight starts here, but just keep in mind here that we do a very long bit of overhealing here at the very beginning of the fight. So did we talk about overhealing at all on BAP?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here it seems like we're doing the exact same thing but on Mercy. So, just keeping in mind that overhealing is doing literally nothing, right? It means that we're just kind of sitting there without accomplishing anything at all. When in this time that when we are healing, right, we could be essentially after someone stops the fully, or let me just show you first, right, before we get into it here. But just watch this on the Zenyatta, right? We saw it for the Zen,
You should be
right,
at peak
and then just watch, right? We heal up, and then we stay on it, 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 and then and then we stop, and then we're fine for the rest of the fight, right? But we just went there like a good 5 second chunk of time where we just did absolutely nothing. So in that time, one particular thing that we could be doing is first off just every time you get the full HP on someone, immediately swap the damage boost, right? That's just the first
Yeah.
thing you do, swap the damage boost, and then the second step is looking for something else to do. So we're looking around, looking for somebody else to heal. Notice as well that here we just kind of stare at the Zenyatta, right? We're just kind of, we go stare, 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 right? Stare, stare, we're stare, 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 right? So we don't have visibility on any of these guys over here, right? We can't see Sombra, we
Yeah.
can't see Tracer, right? We're not looking around us to see what needs healing. The other thing here with positioning is keep in mind that we're trying to position ourselves to where we can heal and see and get to as many people as possible on our team so that, like, if we need to, we can heal anybody. At the moment, we're only able to heal Zenyatta. So if, Hog needs healing, we can't heal him. If any, these guys might be out of our range to get to, but let's say, like, Ball backed up a little bit and we, like, we could heal Ball from, like, the side here, we wouldn't be able to heal him just because we're not in the right position. So right here off the bat, two big things are just, overhealing when we swap the damage and look for something else. We're not being aware of our surroundings by looking around us. We're just staring at the Zenyatta, and we're also not positioning ourselves in the right spot, which would be just where we could heal as many people as possible, which I would probably say would be somewhere like over here, right? This still keeps good cover, right? We're not on the open. We still have good cover usage. We can heal Zen, we can heal Hog, and we can also come in here and heal Ball if we needed to, right?
Don't stop now.
So then we finally swap over, and like we kind of seemed like we zoned out there for a second or something. We swap over to the healing and damage.
Where does it hurt? Ahorita regreso. Get them off me.
Let me know if you need to take the call or not. Alright. So here we kind of identified that the fight was lost pretty late. So so right here we kind of, oh sorry, I went way too far back. So we lose the Hog. I believe we're left to lose somebody else, right? We lose the Ball in a second here, maybe? No, we don't. Okay. So actually we're only down one person here, but I guess that was actually fine. We just aren't able to get out here. Alright, yeah. We kind of need to identify, like, whenever the fight's lost, are we able to make it out? If you are, go for it. But if you're not, then don't go for it, because then you just end up staggering yourself. So in that fight, We probably had to better identify we can't make it out here because we just don't have teammates. We're too far into them. They're just going to push us, right? And if I identify that, then that's going to let us to just, run into them and let them kill us faster. And then that's going to stop us from staggering ourselves because now we're going to come out of spawn. Oh, your body just went flying. We're going to come out of spawn here and then just notice how far ahead everyone else is, right? And that just means that, they might end up pushing in without us or because we might be out of range here for the flying, right? Like we're out of range here for the flying, so they're going to end up walking in without us being there. And then that's going to mean that we can't heal them, and then they're at a disadvantage, right? Or if they wait for us, now that we've just wasted time. So staggering, of course, is not going to be something we want to be doing.
Let's get you back out there.
Alright, so we finally have a good thing to pocket. Oh, she just got one tapped.
Let's get you back in the fight. You needed a doctor? Enemy turret down. Schaden verstärkt. Stop right there. Enemy turret ahead. Watch yourselves.
Right. It does not seem as though... So one thing I'd say that we're struggling with is our awareness of our surroundings, as it doesn't seem like we're paying attention to all of our different teammates very much. We seem to be tunnel visioning always on the one individual thing that we're pocketing, when we could be healing Farah and looking in the complete opposite direction. We could be looking over this direction, right, and still be healing the Farah, right? Or we could be, and we could, if we can see that she's low through the health bar there, right? We can hear when she's taking damage, but we just are always staring at the thing we're healing at when we don't need to do that, and then that's very limited, very limiting to our visibility of our surroundings, because we're constantly looking and staring at Farah, and that means that we don't see when these guys are dying over there, and then that potentially means like we could have gone for a res on one of them. Like, so let's say, for example, let's go back a little bit to when the Zenyatta died, right? So Zenyatta just died right about here. Alright, Zenyatta just died now. Let's see. Could we have made the res? Res is there. No one's there. No one's there to contest it besides the Tracer, and she's not looking at it. If we popped the Valk and just dropped in on top of that, we probably could have gotten away with the res, right? So in the situation, again, just make sure we're being aware of our surroundings. That means paying attention to kill feed. Whenever we see somebody dying kill feed, we need to be eyeballing the dead bodies, right? So pay attention to the fact that people are dead in the first place. Then look at the dead body and go, can I make it? Can I do the res? And then here we also just want to make sure we're not staring at the Farah, right? That way we can look around and see our surroundings, right?
Damage increase.
And then now, by this point, the fight's lost.
Let me get you patched up. Ich bin da.
Okay, so we have an Echo now. We're still in the Echo, so... Actually, no, that's a Echo and a Farah. So we should probably still be on the Farah because Echo has a little bit more survivability on her own. Farah kind of depends on us to stay alive. So maybe we think that the Farah swapped like I did there. Maybe we think that she did, but on the same time, she's also not actually in the fight yet. But we want to pay very careful attention to this and make sure we're paying attention to kill feed, or not kill feed, that's not kill feed. Paying attention to like tab and like which teammates are which, because here, as soon as Farah gets over here, we should probably be with the Farah. And good timing for your ults. Okay. Notice as well, this is something I've seen us doing. So I'm bringing this. This isn't a one-time thing. I've seen this continue to happen. But we kind of flicker where we go damage boost healing, damage boost healing, damage boost healing. Notice you're gonna see after we ult here, we follow her. All right. So watch this on the Echo. All right. So we can slow this down just slightly so you can see it, or maybe like go to like 75 here, so you go damage boost healing, damage boost healing. All right. Damage boost healing, damage boost healing. Alright. Damage boost. Healing. Alright. So, what would be maybe, inefficient about that?
I'm healing her when she doesn't need healing.
Exactly. It's just more overhealing, right? It's essentially just, a less obvious version of overhealing. It's still overhealing, right? We're still doing nothing when we're healing her. So instead, what we do is we make sure we're paying attention to her health bar. If she needs healing, then we heal. If she doesn't need healing, then we damage boost. We don't keep flickering back and forth because then that's just inefficient with our time and resources. And you're gonna notice that like the difference between a Grandmaster top of 100 Mercy and a Master's Mercy is going to be in how efficient you are with every single second of your gameplay, right? If you're efficient with every single second of your gameplay, you get better and better and better. If you're getting more and more consistent, you're going to be getting better. But when we're being inconsistent and inefficient, that's where we start to struggle, right? So those are the things we're trying to work on. Okay, so we swap back over to the Pharah. Now here we're looking like we're a little bit more aware of our surroundings, right? Like right here, this is what you want to be doing consistently. Like here, we're looking at the Echo. We have visibility over pretty much the whole fight from here. We're not staring at one thing, and then we're looking at the Pharah, and then we're kind of slowly floating down, and we're looking around us. We see we're not just staring at the thing we're healing. Right now, we're not staring at Pharah. We're looking around, right? We look at Pharah, we look at Hog, we look left, we look right, right? And that's good awareness, right? That's what you want to continue to do. I'm just letting you know so that you see the difference between the last two fights before this and this fight is that this fight we're looking around the last fights we were just kind of staring at Zen, staring at Pharah, right?
We still need you.
Okay. Other thing I would say is that we'll keep an eye on our reses, but that's the first res I've seen. I believe, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the first res, right? And though of course, res is a pretty powerful ability. Just keep in mind that it's gonna find its most value as fights are happening, right? That's where res does the most. So though I'll probably say this is still was a worth it res, right? It's also just gonna get slightly more value if you're bringing back an Echo in the middle of a fight rather than bringing her back at the end of a fight. And on top of that, we just want to be looking to use it a little bit more often because one usage in 3 minutes is a little bit low of a rate. That means that in that time, I think there were like 20 seconds where we're in spawn or something like that. So let's take 30 seconds out and let's take an additional 30 seconds because like the cooldowns don't overlap. In that time, hypothetically speaking, we could have had maybe like 4 reses, right? Whereas here we had 1 res, right? So that is just something to keep in mind. We'll keep an eye on it, but maybe seeming like a slower res rate at the moment or lower end of that.
Out there.
Okay.
Enemy turret eliminated. Healing stream engaged. Moving on. Team up for special attack.
Yep, you're doing your job right now. I think we're really really good with our target priorities and like knowing who's our best people to be on. Maybe that was slightly inconsistent when we were on the Echo earlier and not on the Pharah, but here like it basically should be like I'd probably say we're on whichever one is being more aggressive or is needing us more. They're both really good pocket targets, and I like that we're with them and not the rest of our team. And so far that's another thing we're doing really good with is that we're good at identifying what we need to be with and when.
You needed a doctor? I'm with you. Enemy turret destroyed. Powered up.
Oh, so do you even do you have t- uh I'm struggling to think of the name of it, but fly
Locking target.
yeah, preferring beam target on? Yeah, you have that on? Yeah, it's because
I have it locked on.
yeah. So here we fly to the far without even looking at her. So just keep in mind that we don't even need to be looking at the Pharah while we're flying. That actually confused me because like when I saw this because I was like because every other point up until now, every time you flew to the Pharah, you looked straight at her. So that just got confusing there for a second. So if you have this enabled, I'd probably say that that's actually like a good thing to have enabled. Just we don't keep in mind you don't always have to be staring at the Pharah then, right? You could be flying to the Pharah, looking around underneath you, right? Paying attention to what's happening. Who do I need to be with? One of the best parts about Mercy is that she can have one of the best awarenesses in the game. Okay, if you're Ana and you're trying to heal Pharah, Pharah is the only thing you can see because you have to be staring directly at her. On Mercy, you could be healing something while also looking in the completely opposite direction, and you also don't even need to worry about mechanics at all, which means that Mercy has such a big, high potential to be aware of her surroundings, right? She has a much higher potential to be able to be aware than Ana or Baptiste or any of the character or any character that requires aiming, and therefore we just want to look around ourselves a bit more, right? That's how you have top 500 Mercies who are so good at micromanaging every single aspect of the game because they're looking around and they're paying attention to the game. Probably say one of the biggest issues I'm seeing so far is that we're not really paying attention to what's happening around us. Look at our camera angle right now, right? What can we see with this camera angle? What one Orisa on the bottom right? Whereas, looking from the same perspective, we look here, now we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters, right? We look this way, we see 1, 2, 3, 4 characters, right? So we just really, really want to pay attention to our angles of where we're keeping our camera, making sure we're looking around ourselves a bit more because we're constantly staring at the people we're pocketing and not really looking around at our surroundings very much. Like right here, for example, we see like we have 2 dead teammates, yet we're not looking where are the dead teammates. Can I get the reses off, right? Zenyatta and Hog, all the way over in this corner, you certainly could get those reses off, right? All we have to do now is we see, oh, I can get those reses. Let me fly to Farah, slingshot myself off of her, right? Float over, boom, res on the Zenyatta, boom, res on the Hog, right? We just want to make sure we're paying attention to our surroundings because there's just so much stuff that's just going over our head that we're not noticing. Alright, and then again, once again, no reses this fight, which keep in mind, res is the most powerful part of your kit, right? It's basically a second ultimate. It's an ultimate on a cooldown, and we're not really utilizing it too much, especially in the middle of fights here. Alright, so we all, did we just get our ult here? I think we did. Yeah. Alright. That's good, at least, because it's pretty much the last fight here. If we lose it.
You needed a goddess?
Flickering between healing and when it wasn't necessary there. Okay. Here we could probably like jump in the pit and catch the res as we're going down, right? This puts us out of LOS of people and makes it so that they can't see us while we're resing. This is a common thing that Mercies do, like, for example, like if, and you've probably done it before, is like if somebody's like on a high ground and you're trying to res them while, like, and you kind of jump off the high ground, and so that you're falling while you're resing. Right, this is the same thing you can do while, like here at the ledge, and, hopefully somebody peeks you, but you can, with your preferred beam target, all you have to do is get your beam on the Pharah, and then boom, you're set, right? Get your beam on anybody and you're just out. So that's just an option. I'm not saying you have to go for it, but again, just keep in mind that you getting reses is how you get value on Mercy, right? Us not using reses at all in the middle of fights is losing out on a ton of potential value. Okay. Once Tracer goes away there, we need to be resing. Resing. Zenyatta's right there on our left, right? He's dead. We should be going for the body there to res. And we don't... Okay, so res is looking like... Okay, so why don't we do a... As soon as this round ends, we're going to do a quick strengths weaknesses of the things we're looking at. Alright, I think that's it. Alright, so, ability usage, flying, no problem with our flight. No issues at all with our flight mechanics. Moving on to our res. Res is looking like a pretty massive thing. Probably say that's, like, so far it's one of the bigger things we're looking at the moment. We are 5 minutes into this game and have used 1 res. Now, let's see, like, we're in spawn... we couldn't use res up until this point, right? So we have a pass on the first minute of the game, let's say, right? So 4 minutes, right? 1 res. In 4 minutes, hypothetically speaking, if we get our max res rates, we are getting, it's a 30-second cooldown, right? So that's 8 reses as a possibility, right? Now, that's not always going to happen because sometimes it's just not an option. So let's cut out even 3 of those, right? And let's say 5 reses is a capability, right? We're able to get 5 reses off. we got one res off, right, the entire round. That's losing out on so much potential. And the one res that we did use was in between fights, where it's actually getting the least amount of value in comparison to when you're resing in the middle of a fight, where that's where res is the most important, because now you're down, you're at a disadvantage, you're bringing them back to where you have an advantage, right? So big massive thing is making sure, first off, like, is we're looking at when people die, right? We're paying attention when people die. We're eyeballing the bodies, right? We're going, aim, where did they die? Okay, I see them. Can I get to that, right? Are they too out far? Is it too far out of position? Are there enemies looking at it? Do I have a Valk available? Because that might allow us to get it a little bit better. Do we have cover that we can? Do I cover I can use? Right, bunch of different things that can help us get away with it. Right, now moving on um, to the ultimate usage. Ultimate usage, honestly, looking pretty decent. I don't have any problems with what you've used so far with your ult, so that's looking like more of a strong suit of ours so far. We have good timing with it, and I didn't really have any issues so far with it, so good ults. Beam targets, like what we're on, looking pretty solid. No problems there. Mechanics, not a thing. This isn't really in any disclosed area, so I guess maybe we'll include it with, I don't know, ability usage. I don't know, but just making sure we're not overhealing. That wasn't, honestly, I wouldn't say it's as major as our ability usage and our awareness, or sorry, as our res usage and our awareness. But I will say that's still a kind of medium, a low to medium thing to work on. That is a pretty important thing, though not as important as the others. Um, then positioning wise, just make sure you're positioning where you can get to as many people as possible, and that's only like one time. But besides that, no real other issues. You've been using cover pretty well. You haven't been dying very frequently. And then finally, coming down to another big one is awareness of the fact that we're not really paying attention to our environment. We're not noticing when people are dying, so that means we're not paying attention to kill feed. We're not, we're our camera, like, there'll be a whole fight happening here and our camera's over here, right? So we want to make sure we're trying to have as many people as possible on our camera, and we're looking left and we're looking right and we're doing a 360 and we're paying attention to our surroundings, right? And we're trying to be aware of what's happening, and make sure we're also not staring at the things we're healing, because we have fly to, we were able to just fly to the things that we're healing without even looking at them, and we're able to see if they need healing or not without even looking at them. Yeah, we're always constantly staring at them, right? So that's kind of where we're standing right now in all the different aspects of our gameplay. Good job starting with the Pharah. That's really good. I mean, of course, but
You needed a goddess?
just want to emphasize that you're doing good in that area.
Damage increase. Contact.
Right, so here we're looking around a little bit more, right? So that's
You
good.
needed a doctor?
Maybe not that, so like it's just slightly inconsistent. Here we're looking around slightly more often, but for the most part it's all right. Maybe here we don't, like, take a look at their team comp real quick, right? We have to identify, like, well, what are we working with? I'd probably say here we can maybe, like, position ourselves more so like right here, where we can still see the Pharah, still fly to her, still beam her, but then now we have access to, heal any of those guys over here, right, if we need to. Right? Again, just positioning yourself to where you can heal as many people as possible at a moment's notice, because, for all you know, um, Samar might be 1 HP in a second here, but you won't be in range to heal her, right? We're not, you are going to stick with Pharah for a large portion of time here, but times where you do leave Pharah are when you need to get a res off, or if somebody else is about to die, right? And that's pretty much it, right? Any other time you're coming back to Pharah. Because now, pay attention, again, this is what I just said is happening. 2 people are critical, but we're just out of range to heal, right? So now they're going to die, or at least maybe one of them is, and we're just not in range to help. Right, so now Bap dies because we're out of range to help. Zarya dies because we're out of range to help. So exactly what I predicted, right, happened because we just weren't in range to heal, and that meant that they died. So make sure we're positioning ourselves to where we can see as many teammates as possible and get to as many teammates as possible as fast as possible, right? And at a moment's notice, we're able to get to them. Okay, here we probably need to be getting out. Um, Probably, hopefully we don't get poked out here. We need to be very, very careful.
You needed a doctor? You should be at peak performance levels.
Oh. Again, not really sticking with our team very much. Good damage boost, nice healing, and second res of the game. But you know, again, after a fight, you know, it's again, that's I'm not saying this is a bad res. This is a fine res because that's gonna mean that she doesn't have to walk back from spawn, and it allows her to set up and do her stuff, right? But again, it's just not as much value as if it's happening in the middle of a fight. All right, so skippity skip.
I'm here. Damage increase. You needed a doctor?
Yeah, so we have a Valk here. We got a pick.
Damage boost engaged.
Alright, Farah's off on her own, so, you know, when she's just so far away that you couldn't possibly get to those guys, don't worry about it, right? Don't worry about the positioning. Go with the Farah. That's completely fine option. Now, you do have Valk, so if any of these guys need you to get over to them very fast, you can just Valk, and then now you're back with them. But we're also up 2 picks here, so we probably won't need it. But this is a good decision to go with the Farah. It's just when you're close enough to get to the other guys, put yourself to where you can get with the other guys. Oh.
You needed a goddess? There.
You can sit on these things right here, so like potentially you could just like, you know, sit here, heal the Farah. If she goes out of range, then just fly to her and then heal her, right? But then this allows us again to be a little bit closer to these guys down here and maybe not be, it allows us to not have to worry so much about flying through the sky, gives us good cover usage, right? So don't feel like you have to constantly like, you know, be in the air with her. So again, the same thing, like you don't have to be on her level up here to heal her when you could be like, you know, down here healing her from down here, right? Or even if she's, let's say she's flying up over there, you don't necessarily need to be flying with her in the sky. That might actually put you in even more risk than if you were standing here and healing her, right? So it's just an option here. I'm not. It's just slightly better. It's not anything major. Okay, good job getting to your Farah. Good mobility. Okay, somebody died. We're watching kill feed. We're going, where did they die? We don't even know where they died because they're not on our screen right now. But we're looking around. We're paying attention. Where did Zarya die? Oh, okay, we can see it. I'm pretty sure in game. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a slightly little while since I've played Mercy. But you can see death icons and markers through walls, right? You can see that Zarya is dead here through wall in game as Mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure we're looking and paying attention to our surroundings. Now, if we see that she's dead, it doesn't look like we actually look in that direction. But that's fine to not go for that because it's Hog's right next to it, Zen's right next to it. That's not a safe position at all. But we at least want to eyeball it. We want to look for it and pay attention to it because here it doesn't necessarily seem like we look over at it at all. Which maybe we saw it out of the corner of our eyes or something. But that's just I can't necessarily see you know if you saw it or not. All right. Skippity skip.
Thanks for the assist. Healing stream engaged.
All right.
I'm here.
A little bit far from our team here, but no, unfortunate. We maybe wait till they back away from it for a little bit, and then just Valken and res it. That's an option here.
Where does it hurt?
Oh, all right. Let's see. Indications. I think we maybe hear him there. We see it. We can see him on the left side of our screen. We can hear him shooting.
Where does it hurt?
All right. So just this one's a little bit tougher, right? It's this is not as obvious of an awareness mistake as the rest of them, though it is slightly an awareness mistake, right? This is one of the deaths where I'd say like he got you pretty good, but there's maybe a slight little bit of impact you could have had, right? We could have been paying attention to the fact that he was running over there. We could have heard him shooting because he did shoot over in our direction. So those are just, again, little things to pay attention to, though it's not a big enough thing to where I'd say that you shouldn't have died to this, right? Alright,
A speedy
recover.
We're holding on to our ult a little bit here. We had 2 fights there. Potentially just making sure we're using it a little bit earlier.
Damage amplified.
Alright, so just keep an eye on that. We want to make sure we're not holding on to ults, so let's just see how much longer we hold on to it for. Same thing as like your ult ability usage, right? You don't want to hold on to your abilities, you don't want to hold on to your ults, because when you do, they just don't get value, right? You're not getting any res value if you're not using res, and you're not getting any Valk value if you're not using Valk.
Thanks for the assist.
I've got you.
A little help would be appreciated.
Where does it hurt?
Need healing.
Okay, once again, looking like we're not using Valk at the moment. Uh-oh. Make sure you're paying attention to him, and we're using cover. You gotta be real careful. So first off, like we didn't get into any ult tracking at all, but you could ult track that if that's something you want to get into. And if you want to talk about ult tracking, I'm down to teach you how to ult track. But that's up to you. Pause to see if he wants. Not getting anything. All right, we'll continue. So yeah, in this situation, you just want to make sure we're using cover properly. Yeah, that's in oofies. Other thing is that now this is fight number 3 that we have not used Valk, right? So in general, let's just talk about ult usage real quick. Don't want to hold on to ults, because when you hold on to ults, they don't do anything, right? You don't get value out of it. In this time, Valk charges pretty fast. We could have had 2 to 3 ults in the time that we used 1 ult, right? That's pretty massive. That's pretty big. You could have gotten a lot more value, maybe even won some more fights if we had used it, right? Same thing as our reses, is we want to use it more often, right? Number 2, make sure that we are using them at the very beginning of fights, right? Because ults that are used at the beginning of fights get more value than ults that are used later in fights. One big thing that's going to come out that comes out of that here is in the past 2 fights, what's happened that stopped us from ulting?
I think I was just like with the VAR the whole time, so I can.
So the thing that stopped us from ulting 2 fights in a row is the fact that we died, right? We died, and then now we can't ult. So that means that basically, if we hold on to our ult and use it mid to late fight, there's more of a chance that you're going to die, or that you're going to lose the fight before you even ult, right? If you lose the fight, then you're not even going to want to ult, because you're going to want to hold on to it. But if you hold on to it till mid-fight, then you just have a higher chance of dying and a higher chance of losing the fight than if you use it at the very beginning, right? On top of that, ults that are used first get more value. Now, Mercy ult isn't maybe the best example here, so let's just go to maybe a more like a more powerful ult for this example. Let's say that the enemy team has a grav and your team has a grav. The enemy team grabs first, right? And they get kills with it, and they get picks, and they therefore, off of those kills and picks, and they got rid of your abilities and shields, they have a massive advantage, and they are much farther ahead of you, right? Now, if we grab second, it does not do nearly as much, because we do not have as many people to shoot into the grab. We have less teammates, and therefore it's just not going to get as much value because it was used second. So the same thing applies to Mercy Valk. If we used Valk after they used their ults, like for example, we used Valk after they used Nano, after they use High Noon, that means that it gets less value because we're forced to hold on to it longer, and it just doesn't do as much. So here, we want to use it early in fights. Pretty much, you want to use it in any fight that has not been won or lost yet, and you want to use it early, right? Whereas here, we're holding on to it for 3 fights in a row and not using it at all, right?
A speedy recovery.
I am empowered.
You should be at peak performance levels. Onwards to victory.
Right, okay. Just keep in mind, you don't always have to constantly be on Pharah. So the thing here, when you're looking for your Valk, you're going to get a whole lot more value out of getting the chain beam going, right? And being with now these guys aren't actually together, so if there's just 2 max that you're doing, then just stay with the Pharah. But in this instance, like and in all the other fights, like if you're looking for it, just most of the time you're going to want to be with them to get the chain beam, right? and rather than just being with the Pharah, and then you fly to the Pharah if Pharah needs you, right?
EMP activated.
So actually, that actually looks like what we're doing, so that's really good. Yep, you did it a second later. Okay, 2 of our teammates died. Where'd Hog go? Hog went down there, right? Where'd the Sommer go? Sommer went right there, right? Are Lucio and Hog looking at us? No, they are not. Are they looking at the body? Lucio just and Hog went past it, so we actually glanced over the body. That's good. Okay, Hog does not no longer has hook, so what's something we can do right now, right? We can fly over to this body, grab it. We have whenever you have Valk, you can get away with a lot more riskier reses because you have self-healing as well as much higher movement speed. Once Hog no longer has hook, this is a perfectly safe hook, res to go for because of the fact that Hog's not gonna be able to kill you if you have self-healing and you're moving super fast, right? Or I mean, we can also go for the BAP here as well, right? Just go for a res, right? Any res.
Fire at will.
Right the hair.
Right. Good movement at the very least, right? But again, no reses coming out.
You needed a bonus.
Alright. So, now we are 11 minutes and 20 seconds in. Let's just take out 2 minutes for in between rounds and say, and maybe, yeah, and then like the beginning of this. So let's say it's 9 minutes, right? 9 minutes, and we have 2 reses. So essentially the same thing, right, as last time, as we were talking about before. We're keeping up the exact same rate where we could have gotten in 9 minutes, potentially 18 reses, right? 18 entire reses, hypothetically. Now let's take out some of those, right? Because again, that's at a very, very high maximum, which isn't going to happen all the time. So let's even lower that down to 10 or 12, right? In that time, we've used 2. Very massive difference. When you use abilities and ultimates, they get value. When you don't, they don't do anything. Right? And the only reses we've done have just been in between fights as well, which is, again, where they get the least amount of value. So that's looking like a huge, massive thing so far. It's just our reses. Ultimates are actually looking like it's slightly higher on the list now than before. I'll probably say it's not as bad as our reses, though it is still now in the medium category, and then awareness is maybe in like the is probably at the higher end as well. All right.
We all have our jobs to do. I'm even stronger. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I've got you. Weapon optimized. You needed a doctor?
Yeah.
You should be
Good job paying attention to the fact that they have a widow and crouch spamming and using cover. Positioning's not really seeming like too much of an issue besides just, making sure we were keeping good positioning last time.
damage increase. Taking the objective. They're all over me.
Maybe we could do that if we're sneaky about it, but we'd have to fly through. So I'm just eyeballing the body, right? Just that, which is what we should be doing in game. Just seeing, would you be capable of getting it?
Don't stop now. Let's get you back out there.
Right, but now, Baby Diva's dead. Again, eyeballing the body. Right, now that's a very resable one. Right, that's very, very easily resable because all we have to, so we heal up the Zenyatta. I think this is actually fine. Because you don't go for res if you're in the middle, if somebody's critical right next to you, right? You want to heal them up first and then go for it. Like here's one, he gets it. Right, now we go for the res. Right, we peek this. Right, we just get it around the corner. They can't damage us because we're around the corner. Boom, easy res. Alright, a monkey jumps us, that's fine. You don't want to res with the monkey on top of you. But maybe potentially could have gone for us slightly faster.
Anyone want to join me?
Okay, we were ult here, we want to make sure we're using it, not holding on to it again.
Personne n'échappe à mes regards.
Damage amplified.
Time to raise my
Okay.
APM.
Here when we ult, something we could do is go and pistol the Widowmaker. That's an option here. And make sure that we're not just, sitting in the back pocket of the Zenyatta when we do maybe about something else that we could be, or where we could be positioning ourselves slightly closer.
Cover me.
Alright. Good decision not to use your ult there, because we saw the Tracer killed 2, and then Zed entranced.
My spirit is strong.
Alright. Nothing happening at the moment.
Care of you. Ich bin da.
Onwards to victory.
Nice Valk. That's good timing. It's at the very beginning of the fight, and we're not holding on to it for 3 fights in a row, so that's good. And much better than last round, but that just tells me that it's slightly inconsistent, whereas our res has been consistent the whole way through, right? Our Valks have been like half good, half bad. Reses have been pretty much bad the entire time, so that's just that. I'm just kind of walking you through my logic behind putting reses as more important than your Valk usage. So far, Valk usage, I'm probably saying, even with this one, it's now looking very, very middle of the road for working on. It's definitely not the worst thing you need, the thing that you need to work on the most, but it's also definitely something that you need to work on. Just want to get to be consistent to where we're doing this all the time.
Performance levels.
Okay, we're swapping like healing damage boost there again. We're kind of swapping back and forth there when we probably should just be on the damage boost, right? You see, like, we're not really healing very much there. Healing nothing.
In Bereitschaft.
Healing nothing.
Damage boost.
Healing nothing.
I'm taking care of you. Cover me. Let me get you patched up.
EMP activated.
Activating song sequence.
Alright, alright, we almost had some really good movement there. So let's see what happened. So we ended up going out in the open here. Why did we go out in the open?
Let me get you patched up.
EMP activated.
Activating song sequence.
Alright, so we had Tracer on us, so we kind of did a panic fly there, and then we went this way. Alright, so we just had Tracer contesting us the whole time there. Alright. Keep in mind that maybe a super jump could help you, get away from the Tracer. This could maybe get you up to something like this and oh, there's people there, right? Maybe get you up to something like just up here faster rather than having to do this long walk around. It might give you options to maybe fly to someone else, but just make sure as well that we're not, instead of just, trying to run away from the Tracer, that we're looking around for somebody else to fly to, because here we have Tracer and D.Va, who might be slightly better targets to fly to than trying to just walk away, right? But then here again, we're trying to get away from the bomb there. All right, on it, not too bad of a death, right? Honestly, not much we could have done there.
My ultimate peace be
Immer unterbricht mich jemand bei der Arbeit. Where does it hurt? Damage amplified.
Damage bump.
Healing stream engaged. Damage boost engaged. I'm with you. I'm taking care of you.
experience tranquility.
Powered up. Wait for it. Help me.
Okay, a little bit more of overhealing and flickering in this fight. We're also standing on the open and point. Make sure we're keeping good cover. Like, we've been good for the most part with this, right? Where we're using good cover and we're making sure we're not out in the open. But here we kind of like go out in the open when we don't really need to. Like, for example, here, you could just be sitting over here on the right side with the statue and still be able to heal pretty much everyone on point, right? Or you could be on point and you could be using this down here. But instead we kind of like are out in the open here, which this is fine. We have a trance, but then it disappears and we're out in the open and we're out in the open and we're out in the open and then we're 2 HP and then we get healed and then we get to cover, right? So it very, very nearly died just because we're out in the open there. Make sure we're keeping good cover usage, right? And then we're not walking on the open. Yep, good Valk usage, right? Again, both of those were much, much better than last round, so it's just looking inconsistent. Make sure we're eyeballing reses. So right here we have 2 different teammates who just died, right? One who's on the right, one who's on the left, right? Hog's over here. He could potentially be cooking us out of it, but if we go over to this one, almost guaranteed we get away with it. We have 2 tanks sitting on top of us. We have Valk available. Maybe the only thing would be like D.Va boosting us off of it, but I don't even think that like she's. I don't even see that happening really. Because we have Valk and maybe we could just go in the opposite. We can keep running into it. I don't know. So we could that just be a really easy one to go for. And even right here, we see that happen like right here. Now, oh wait, right there are hogs there as well, right? So again, it's just eyeballing it, right? Paying attention to, can I go for it or not?
Healing stream engaged.
All right. Is she hacked? No, she's not hacked right now. Now at this point, that's a lost fight. Now we don't go for the res because it's lost. We're down 3. I'm gonna look to just back up, but again, it's just missed opportunities that we could have gone for, right? Yes, that would have been like a little bit like really at most we just got the res canceled. That at the very most, that's all that happened there, right? But we just didn't really go for it, right? You just gotta go for these reses because it's a big, powerful ability that she has.
Power up. Right beside you. Powered up. Yes,
A hog kill tracer, that's very far out of our reach, so we don't even go for it.
damage boost engaged. Healing stream engaged.
Nice res. Alright, that's probably the best res that we've had, but it was also kind of like handed to us, so, really good. Just, again, 3rd res in 17 minutes, but we'll go over that again at the end, or before the game's done here.
You needed a doctor? I could use some assistance.
Alright. Not much you could have done in that last fight. And then I think that is game. Alright, so in this entire game, there were roughly 18 minutes, right? Let's give you the benefit of the doubt and take out 4 minutes for in between rounds and at the start of fights, right? So now we're down to 14 minutes, right? Now let's take out an additional time, assuming that, of course, you're not going to always have a body to resurrect, and assuming, of course, that there's in between fights and that it's not always going to be a good opportunity to res. So let's go the extra mile here and take out half of that. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. So now we have 7. Now 7 times 2, right? A minute, right? Because you can get 2 reses off a minute is 14, right? Which means that you could have gotten off potentially 14 deaths roughly that game, and we got 3 off, right? Big major point that I just want to emphasize because it's so important to your gameplay on Mercy. And like if you're still I don't think that you are, but maybe if you still wanted to, you could go and check other good Mercy players out on YouTube or Twitch or whatever and see and just count how many reses are they getting off a game, right? Because I almost guarantee it's probably going to be more than 3, and that's even in shorter games than 17 minutes. All right. So let's get out and hop into the training range here. We're going to go over, the review wrap up of the session and then go over the main points. All right. So we were on Mercy. So no mechanics on Mercy, so that's not even a category here. Ability usage, right? Flight, fantastic. No problems with our flight. But big major thing, probably number 1 thing of the session was reses, right? Making sure we're going for more of them, making sure we're looking for them, right? Eyeball them, right? We just talked about that a second ago. Make sure every time somebody dies in the kill feed, we're paying attention, and then we're looking at the body and going, can I do it? Do I Valk? Are they next to cover? How many people are looking at it? Can I be sneaky about it? Right? How much time do I have? How far away is the body? Can I fly to it? Right? All these different factors we're paying attention to and eyeballing and saying, can I do it? Right? Just make sure we're just doing it more often because we had 3 reses in that whole game, which is a pretty low rate. Make sure we're looking for reses more, especially in the middle of fights, as that's where they're actually getting the most value is in the middle of fights, right? As, they still get value between fights, it's just not as much because when you're bringing somebody back in the middle of a fight, that's going from being at a disadvantage to being neutral or going from a neutral to an advantage, right? It's a very powerful ability that can swap the sway the fight, right? Where you can potentially just pull the fight around by getting off a res, And that's happened in many different cases in games that I've been in, and we just want to make sure we're looking to do that. All right, moving on. Valk usage, probably in the medium category of things to be worked on. Want to make sure we're just using it, at the very beginning of fights, not holding on to it, because that's where they get the most value. And then on top of that, making sure that we're not holding on to it, right? Because like same thing as our reses, right? When we don't use it, doesn't get any value. So we want to make sure that we are valking to use it. And then besides that, no problem with anything else in the valk.
Now this must be a
Bean
surprise.
usage, not really a category. I'll put this in with ability usage. I just kind of missed it here. Make sure that we're not overhealing, right? We're paying attention to the fact that we're not overhealing, and then flickering is overhealing as well, right? Where we're just doing this, right? This is overhealing because we're just healing when it's not necessary. So pay attention to that. Make sure we're not doing that. We were doing that when we were. I think I almost noticed that it was especially while we were valking. So pay attention to our valks, especially that we're not doing that, right? Because this is just wasting time and resources and effort. Make sure we're not overhealing, but anytime we heal somebody up to full, that we're swapping the damage boost and we're looking around for something else to heal or beyond, right? So healing up to full, swapping over, once they're full, we swap over to damage boost and we look for something else. All right, now moving on, positioning. Good cover usage, but for the most part, there's just one time where we're out in the open, so just make sure you're staying next to cover, right? You're not walking out in the open. And then the other big thing with positioning was just making sure that we were positioning to where we could get to as many teammates as possible at all times. Sorry, excuse me. If we are over here, right, and we can only heal one person, this means that we can't heal any of those guys if they need healing and they're about to die. But instead, if we are over here, now we can do the exact same thing, except for we can be to these guys as well, right? Same thing, this would be bad as well, because now we can't heal that guy over there. So you just want to be in the middle to where we can heal everybody, right? As many people as you can get to. Now, sometimes there's going to be somebody off in Narnia all the way over there on the other side of this wall, and don't feel like you need to put yourself to, like, that's going to be impossible to try to put yourself between us and them. But as many people as you can get. And there were just some times where we could get more people, and we did. Alright, moving on to awareness. Another one of the biggies, because this one affected a whole lot of different things. So, don't think you got any problem with watching your HUD. Though, I would say watch your kill feed, right? That's going to tell you when you're winning or losing fights, as well as when your teammates have died, right? When your teammates die, make sure that you're paying attention and you're eyeballing their bodies, because there are a whole lot of time where people died and we didn't really seem to give it a second look, right? We didn't really seem to notice, right, or pay attention to it. Right? Make sure you're paying attention. You're not staring at the thing you're healing. So rather than just doing this and doing this and doing this, we can be looking around us, right? We can be paying attention to where's the enemy team at, where's my team at, who do I need to heal, right? So instead of, like, we could be it's not going to disappear. The beam's not going to disappear here. We could be literally doing this without looking at this person while looking for somebody else to do something for, right? We could be looking for bodies to res. We could be looking for people to heal, right? We don't need to be staring at the person, right? Like, even while you're on Farah, right? Just make sure you're not staring at them. With your camera angle, make sure that we're putting our camera angle where we can see as many people as possible. So here, that would be this. Right now, you might not want to be putting yourself in that position, but like here, for example, like we can see 4 people, 5 people, right? Whereas if we're looking this way, we see nothing, right? We see nothing if we're over here. So we just want to make sure we're putting our camera angle to where we can see as many things as possible. Make sure we're looking around us, so where we're looking left, we're looking right. We're doing a 360 once in a while, right? We're paying attention to our surroundings, so we understand where's my team at, where's the enemy team at, right? Pay attention, and then I think that is it. Pay attention to health bars, so you know when you're overhealing or not, right? That's another thing to pay attention to. And then I think that is, and then one other thing for HUD that I don't think I mentioned was just make sure you're paying attention to the fact that you have res and the fact that you have Valk, so that you actually are using it, right? That just giving yourself that reminder, if you're paying attention to it and saying, oh yeah, I have that ability, might help you out. Alright, so main points. Number 1, res usage, right? Big thing. I already emphasized it, so I'm not going to keep emphasizing it. 2 is going to come in at your awareness, because that fed into our bad reses, or not necessarily bad reses, but our lack of reses, right? As well as a bunch of other mistakes. Number 3, we're going to put at your Valk usage, as it was just, in the medium, really the only round that was bad was the middle round, right? It was good in the first round, good in the third round, but in the second round we just didn't use it properly. So Valk is just inconsistent. Mechanics don't exist, so we're not going to talk about that. And then besides that, honestly, I'm not going to put Guardian Angel as something you need to work on either. And then what was the last one? And then positioning will come in at number 4. All right. Do you have any questions about anything we've talked about?
And no.
All right. So then I'm just going to end the recording.